Hey guys, we're here with Damaris Sanders, and he is the husband of Adeline Gray. We're going to ask him a few questions. Okay, Damaris, how did you and Adeline meet?
Hello, everyone. Our meeting, I guess we met between some friends. One of her friends was dating one of my buddies that were in the military for a little bit. And one evening, I guess it was a Sunday, my buddies called me. She was, I guess, being a third wheel on one of their dates, and they were like, hey, you should meet this nice girl that we have here, a wrestler, which, interesting enough, I've had little exposure to wrestling. And so I obliged, and I came, hung out, and we just hit it off. We had a great time. Funny part was, following that date, she ended up, I think it was Nationals that year. She had to leave to go to Vegas, so I didn't get to see her for about another month. So it was just like kind of text for a while there until we got to see each other again. But yeah, it was through mutual friends while I was stationed in Colorado Springs.
That's awesome. So what was your first official date where it was just the two of you guys and not friends?
I think, our first official date is not as interesting because it was more after she had gone to Nationals. We kind of had to reacquaint ourselves, so we kind of just went out on a quick date in Colorado Springs just to make sure we still knew each other. And it wasn't just that first meeting, the whole honeymoon thing. I think the second date was way more interesting because she called me one day while I was at work she had playoff Nuggets tickets that her dad had. And so she calls me at work. It's probably like midday. She's like, I've got these tickets. Do you want to come? And I was like, of course I want to come. And she's like, no, just make sure. It's going to be with my parents. I don't want this to be all awkward. It is like our second date. But so I jumped in two-footed, and I ended up going to the playoff Nuggets games. Met her parents. It was a great time. It's rare that you get a bunch of free tickets, especially with on your second date.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I love that she was trying to make sure you were okay with going with her parents there.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially since her dad's a cop and everything. So it's like, ooh, you can't pass up playoff Nuggets tickets.
That is awesome. Was it intimidating meeting her dad for the first time?
No. So her parents are very nice, and they brought me in, and we had a great old time. We went to dinner, went to the Nuggets game, and of course, everyone who knows George, he loves to talk, and so we had a great old time. They welcomed me right in. That's
awesome. I love it. Okay, so you had mentioned that you didn't really know about wrestling prior to meeting Adeline. Can you tell me what your first wrestling event was that you attended?
First. So, yeah, the only thing I knew about wrestling prior to Adeline was back in high school when the wrestlers would run around trying to cut weight. Because I played basketball, soccer, baseball in high school, and so that was my only exposure to wrestling. But first event with Adeline was, I think, 2013 World Championships, if I'm not mistaken, in Budapest. So that was we were only dating for 6 months at the time, and she invited me, so I traveled with her parents. We showed up in Budapest, and it was a grand old time. Met the team, met Terry, and then Adeline ended up taking bronze that year. So it was a great experience. Plus, Budapest is always a beautiful city, one of my favorite cities in Europe. So you can't miss. It's a great way to start your wrestling career.
I love that. Oh, I bet that was so much fun for a first experience, for really being around the sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, World Championships are a great experience and fun time to go to.
Oh, I can imagine. I can't wait to go one day. Okay, so what was one of the hardest moments for you to watch Adeline go through as a significant other?
I think the hardest time would probably be the 2016 Olympics. We had been dating at that point almost 3 years, and Adeline had been on a just ridiculous tear through the division. She'd been undefeated for almost 2.5 years, won back-to-back world titles. So going into the Olympics, we just kind of had an expectation that we're going to go get a gold and just keep going. We did know she was injured going in, but she'd been able to mask the injury pretty well through all the previous tournaments and kept coming out on top. So it was just kind of like, just one more tournament, we can get through it and we'll be fine, get healed up after. But we just, that one day we wrestled, I think it was Vasilisa, and she's quite long and her style's very interesting, and it was just kind of exposed her injury, her torn bicep and shoulder for that tournament, and it was a shock, because especially me being with Adeline for that period, it was a rare occurrence to see Adeline lose at any tournament, especially the big one. So it was just, you're left speechless. I was looking at her parents, and they're just like, okay, and you just have to move on. Everything's off right. We'll get through this. And yeah, so it was difficult because there was just a lot of expectation. And yeah, it was just, luckily it was in Brazil, so it ended up being a great trip. But you just had it was a difficult time for her and the family.
I can imagine. How did you help her cope with that?
It was just, I would just be there, support her, just ensure that we always make sure we tell her we love her regardless, wins, losses, it doesn't matter. We're here for you. Even though this is very important to her, we just make sure you wrap her in love and everything's going to be okay. For me, it was interesting because it was just before we got engaged, and I kind of planned on getting engaged in Brazil, but it was pending that she won. So had she won, I would have proposed, but since she didn't win, it was like, oop, I got to readjust my plan. So it was just kind of it was a lot of stuff going on at that time. So it was interesting, but we came out, and as you can see, now she's back at it, 2 more world championships, going into another Olympic run. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, yeah, well, I know we are definitely cheering for her. So you said that you had planned on proposing to her pending her doing well at the Olympics. So what was your backup plan? How did you end up proposing to her?
So at that time, I hadn't had a backup plan because the assumption was we were going to win. So when we didn't win, it was like, we got to have to reevaluate. But I ended up doing it. I was stationed in Louisiana, Fort Polk, Louisiana, and they've got a lake, big lake between Texas and Louisiana, Toledo Bend. And so we took a weekend up to the lake, stayed in the cabin, and one of the evenings we went for a walk and kind of proposed on the side of the lake, and she said yes, and the rest is history.
I love that. That's sweet. Okay, so your wife is clearly one of the baddest women on earth. Can you tell me about the benefits and challenges of that dynamic in your relationship?
The benefits, I don't know. For me, there's a lot of understanding because our lives are always in flux. I'm either deployed or at training all around the world, and she's always around the world training, whether it's Colorado, East Coast, West Coast, Europe, Asia. So we're very flexible, we're very understanding, and you just got to over-communicate, make sure you know what you want so you can communicate to what you need to your significant other. So it's just, we work through it. For us, a lot of things are short, suspenses. Like currently we're in the middle of a move. The Packers are coming to the house Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll be moving back to Colorado as I'm taking a new position. But so it's got to be flexible, And you just got to be carefree kind of about it. The benefits, though, I think for me, my favorite benefit is just traveling. I love to travel, so I've always been I've been a military brat, so in the military pretty much I'd say my whole life because my dad was Army. So I've been used to moving every 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, my entire life. And so I love traveling the world. My mom grew up in Thailand. My brother was born in Germany. So going to see her at all these different tournaments, whether it's in the States or internationally, I've had a blast. There's also perks to her being one of the greatest wrestlers of all time in America. Also, it's nice to interact with the teams and the coaches and just kind of getting that access on the behind the scenes just to see how everything works. It was awesome meetings like Jordan Burroughs and all the other guys. So I've had a blast. It's different. It's always interesting, especially when you're talking to people like, your wife's a wrestler? What kind of WWE? No, not WWE wrestling. We're talking Olympic wrestling. We're like, oh, Olympic wrestling. I used to wrestle. So it breaks ice with a lot of folks, especially in the Midwest and South. So I've had a blast with it.
I love that. I love how you say that that's a good icebreaker. I can imagine it definitely is.
And it's always, people find it kind of intimidating. Does she beat you up? No, I don't, it is what it is. I don't try to get on the mat with her, especially with my lack of knowledge of wrestling, or she'll probably beat me up,
Oh, I can imagine. So it could be a big win or something behind the scenes, but what moment in Adeline's incredible career brings you the most pride?
For me, let's see. I'd say probably Vegas, the Vegas World Championship, because that was the first World Championship that I got to attend in person that she won gold. Plus it was the United States, so lots of friends and family. And we just had a little more access, especially being in the United States. So more people. I got a lot more behind the scenes. Got to watch her interact with media and all the stuff that happened after she won. Being, I think, one of the first females to go back-to-back titles. So that was, Vegas is always awesome. Plus my family was, my brother, my dad got to show up, and it was just kind of a whole family affair to see, I guess at the time, my girlfriend continue to dominate the world, be best in the world at something special. So that was, I think, significant for me for one of her accomplishments.
That's incredible that the entire family was able to come and witness that accomplishment.
Yeah, because most of my family is located out in California, depending on when my mom comes back and forth from Thailand. So we all got to go up there for that. So it was fun. My family got to meet her family, and it was just a big party to celebrate her accomplishment.
Heck yeah. I bet that was really phenomenal. Okay, so my husband wanted me to ask you this because he doesn't think that he could, but do you think that you could stop Adeline's leg lace?
I doubt it. Very few people in the world can stop that leg lace, and I don't normally get on the mat with her, but especially I don't get on the ground with her. If we do wrestle, it's more hand fighting, and I let her practice takedowns. But that doesn't look fun to me. Whenever I see someone get leg lace, especially when she's doing it, that doesn't look like fun, getting your legs wrapped up. And my legs are big, and that doesn't sound like I want my joints to hurt. So I've never allowed her to leg lace me yet.
That's awesome. I definitely don't think that I would want to try her wrestling on the ground either.
Yeah, you don't. I think once you're in it, you don't get out. It's very rare that you get out of the Adeline leg lace. You
are 100% correct about that. So what is something most people don't know about Adeline?
Something that people don't know. Well, I think close friends know, but probably not for the majority of public. So Adeline's I'd say a card shark. I guess most of her family is actually card sharks. We play a lot of cards in her family. It's really competitive and it gets rowdy. So we have a lot of games that we play. It was kind of like that gate I had to meet when I first came into the family. Like, if you can play cards, you can hang out with us. If you can't play cards, you're not going to be able to make it. So luckily I grew up playing cards. But Adeline and her family it's a very intimidating environment when you get down to playing cards with them. So she's really good at cards. The other thing, but the problem is she's terrible at trash talk, just horrible. So she'll win, she dominates everybody, but she can't talk trash well. So I'm trying to help her out with her trash talk game because I'm trying to get her to talk trash on the mat. I know it's not a wrestling thing to do, but I coming from my sports and my background, I like a little trash talk. So we got to work on her trash talk game, even though her card game is amazing.
I love that. Oh man, Adeline, we got to help you with your trash talk game there, girl. That is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Damaris. We appreciate you, and thank you for allowing us to interview you. And as always, we are going to be cheering for Adeline in the upcoming Olympic trials and hopefully the Olympics.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, continue supporting Adeline.
We definitely will.